pushed around. We must keep you from putting our kids in the ground, so we can't stand down. No, we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't stand down, brother. So we'll stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. 'Cause we know what's right. And we got plenty of fight. And if you think you're gonna keep pushing us around, well, you'll lose that crown. 'Cause we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've got to stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. You know, it's pretty clear. If these lunatics think they have the right to strip us of our rights of self-defense, and if they're willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. No, we won't back down. Back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've got to stand our ground, so we won't back down. No, we won't back down. Virginians, you won't fight this fight alone.
Hey everybody, welcome. I hope you're enjoying this lovely Thursday evening. I know we had some snow here today. It's been actually pretty crummy weather, but that's part of the reason why you see me here and not Philip. He is stuck in traffic because it's crummy weather. So I will do my best to fill his large shoes, and I want to welcome everybody. We got a pretty busy evening lined up tonight, but the first thing that I want to bring to your attention is that the VCDL Academy has scheduled a candidate forum, and this is going to be this coming week on Thursday. Let me find the information here. Bear with me while I scroll through all of this stuff. Create that, and here we go. So, the 12th Senate District is being contested. There are 3 people running in the Republican primary, and this is Amanda Chase's district. Tina Ramirez and Glenn Sturdivant are running against her. So there will be a candidate forum this coming Thursday evening at the Colonial Heights American Legion. The address is on the screen. All 3 candidates will be participating. We did invite the Democrat candidate and never heard back from them. So this should be a pretty informative candidate forum. All of the questions will be Second Amendment related. And it is also a fundraiser for the VCDL Academy. So there is an admission charge. It's not a lot. It's $30 for individuals or $50 for couples. And you can sign up online at the address you see on the screen right here, or you can pay at the door. So we're really excited about this event. It should be a very informative forum. So the VCDL Academy has also um, been busy doing other things. We have a speaker series going on, and Emily Brewer uh, is lined up to speak on the 18th. So that's just 2 days after the candidate forum. That will be in Windsor, Virginia. And let me see if I can find the address on that. Chat isn't working. Okay. So I just received a message that the Facebook chat isn't working. I apologize for that. Maybe try refreshing your page and see if it'll work. I'm getting some comments coming through. Let's see. So we've got a good evening from the Heller Foundation here, from Michael Dalton, and Michael said it did snow, but on Sunday, is that what you said, Michael? Yeah. Let's see what else we've got. That's about it for the comments right now, and I'm not seeing if they're coming from Facebook or if they're coming just from YouTube. So anyway, back to the Emily Brewer event. Let's see. I thought I had put the address in here, but I do not see it. So you can go to vcdl.org/event/brewer and get the information on that. That's at 9 a.m. on March 18th, and it's being held in Windsor. After that, the VCDL Academy is holding a legislative roundtable, and this one has several candidates or delegates and senators. Let's see who we've got in here. We've got Delegate Durant, Delegate Freitas, Senator Reeves, Delegate Scott, and of course Philip Van Cleve. This one will be held in Fredericksburg at the scroll back up, excuse me. Let's see, at the Crossroads Baptist Church on Lee Hill School Road. And that one is at 5:30 p.m. on March 23rd. So those are some of the events that the VCDL Academy has been organizing to help the voters stay informed. Let's see. Victor said he's watching on Facebook Live and he was able to comment. So I'm not sure what chat was not working, but Joanna, if you want to try it again and see if you can get through. Anyway, we also need some help at the Richmond Gun Show. So gun shows are an important place where we reach out to people that presumably are coming to buy guns and may or may not have heard about VCDL. And we have tables at all the gun shows around the state, and members volunteer to take a shift, and it's usually 4 hours in the morning or 4 hours in the afternoon, either on Saturday or Sunday. And you talk to people about why they should care about their gun rights and why they should be active in defending those rights. Let them know what VCDL does, and ask them to join, get involved, volunteer, that sort of thing. So If you want to volunteer for the Richmond Gun Show, volunteers do get into the show for free, and a lot of the vendors at the show give people discounts that are volunteering at the VCDL table. So you can contact gunshows.richmond@vcdl.org and sign up for that. It was in the latest VA alert, and it will probably be in the next VA alert also. So I have a chat here from Michelle saying, why isn't Matt Strickland included in the Fredericksburg event? Michelle, I don't know the answer to that question, but you can contact the VCDL Academy by emailing academy@vcdl.org and ask that question. So it may have been a scheduling issue. These things are rather difficult to tie everybody's schedule in together. So that might have been what it was. Okay, that takes care of that business that I needed to address. And there's some exciting news that has been going on. These are exciting times for gun owners. So the Texas Fifth Circuit has been issuing quite a few favorable opinions based on the Bruin ruling. One of which is, let's see, the Fifth Circuit ruled that you can't deny somebody's Second Amendment rights for misdemeanor domestic violence. They cited that this was not in the history, text, and tradition of the Second Amendment. And so they said that you just can't take somebody's rights away for a misdemeanor crime. So this ruling is fabulous, but keep in mind that it only affects the states that are in the Fifth Circuit, which would be Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So it will have to hit other states first before it goes nationwide. But these are all steps in the right direction. We also had a Fifth Circuit ruling that was an injunction on the frames and receivers rule, and the court said that again, based on Bruin, these things are in common use, and so their frames, unfinished frames and receivers are not firearms. The parts kits are not firearms, and the ATF doesn't have the jurisdiction to make a ruling on that. So, in fact, the ATF director is being called before Congress to answer for their rulemaking process, including the changes to the pistol brace ban. So, the GOA, by the way, has filed a preliminary injunction to block that pistol brace rule. So watch that move through the court system. Hopefully we will get a nationwide injunction on that very soon. But in the meantime, that 120-day clock is still ticking, and the rule does still stand for now. Let's see. The Fifth Circuit also issued an injunction on the bump stock ban. So they said that the ATF did not have the jurisdiction to make that ruling. Let's see. Yeah, Abel says that everything, including words, are firearms to some people. Yeah, words can hurt, right? So, let's see. What else have we got here? So Missouri, in some recent losses, the Missouri law that said that state and local governments could not help the federal government enforce the rules that the state declared unconstitutional. And it also said that any law that they deemed to be unconstitutional would not be valid and could not be enforced in their state, and that was overturned. Um, However, it is on appeal, and it is being appealed. And Kentucky is now passing a law very similar to the Missouri law. So we'll keep a close eye on that and see where that goes. That's an interesting case. But there are a lot of states that are filing or creating laws saying that they will not help the federal government enforce unconstitutional laws or laws that infringe on your Second Amendment rights. And frankly, the federal government doesn't have the resources to go locally and enforce a lot of these laws. They rely on local governments to help them in those cases. So that really stymies their effort quite a bit. So, another recent loss was in Florida, where a court said that 18 to 20-year-olds don't have the right to buy a gun. And what he was doing was looking to around the time of the 14th Amendment and saying that, well, we banned slaves and things from having guns. We banned certain people, so that is the history, text, and tradition that says that we can ban 18 and to 20-year-olds from having guns, and that is just a that's a really bad argument. But B, um, it's a dangerous decision there, looking to the time of the 14th Amendment. So there will be more on that coming out in a VA alert. And yeah, that is crazy. Modern day Pharaoh, that's just insane. But the truth of the matter is that gun control, the vast majority of it, was very racist in its roots. So, if you look back at the history of gun control, it was to keep certain classes of people from being able to defend themselves, and it's just a form of weaponized government, if you want to know the truth of it. So, yeah, the phrase local governments, local dollars cannot be used to support federal actions from the other governments is in the Missouri law also. Let's see, some of the other things that we are looking at. Uh, da, 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 da. So, the GOA and VCDL, as you know, filed the lawsuit back in 2020 against the private sale background check. And the courts moved very slow. Of course, we had COVID in there, which delayed things. And then there's been a number of filings and so on and so forth. But in the meantime, in light of the Bruin decision, VCDL feels that, and GOA feel that we are on very, very good grounds. So what we've done is we've gone and filed for summary judgment. What summary judgment is the court says basically, without going to the trial and everything, they say, you guys have it hands down and you win. So they just issue a summary judgment. That's not very frequently done, but we have filed and said that based on the fact that the Bruin decision says that you must look at the text, history, and tradition of the Second Amendment, there's no way that this law can stand. It's just blatantly unconstitutional, and we would like the court to declare it as such. So that will be filed on March 23rd. In the meantime, should the judge not issue the summary judgment, we will be going to court. So Philip has put out in the last VA alert, or the one before it, he was asking people to contact him if they have had difficulty completing a private sale transfer. So excuse me, if you have not been able to find an FFL that would do the transfer, or if you've had to travel great distances to find an FFL, or wait to the next gun show that was in your area because there were no FFLs near you that were willing to do a private sale transfer, or um, if the purchaser got delayed and you had to come back another day, or if you left your gun because the purchaser got delayed and then they were denied and you had to go and do a background check to get your own gun back. So if you have had any kind of trouble at all completing a private sale transfer, then please email president@vcdl.org and let him know, because if we do go to court, we will be needing to show the judge cases where this has um, been a major problem across the state. So I know of one instance that the VCheck system was down for 2.5 days. And so that essentially stopped gun sales in the entire state, because not even a private sale could take place for 2.5 days. And it was a computer glitch, but uh, it's still a right denied because it was a right delayed. So the other issue that we have, and this goes into the bills that passed this year, one of the bills that passed the General Assembly this year was a bill that allowed certain people with non-photo identifications from the DMV to purchase a firearm. And so this is a problem because of the private sale background check, because these people are a small group of people out in the valley that their religion prohibits them from having their picture taken. And so DMV has, there's been a law passed allowing DMV to issue them driver's licenses or identification cards without their photograph. Well, federal law says that you must have a photo ID. So, because of the private sale background check law, these people are now totally denied purchasing a firearm. And they do purchase firearms. They hunt, and so they have reasons that they want to purchase firearms, and because of this private sale background check law, now they can't. So there was a bill put in this year that said that they could purchase firearms, and they would have to go to the state police booth at a gun show to do the background check, but they can now purchase those firearms through the state police through the private sale background check there. Again, we need to get rid of the private sale background check altogether. It's flat out wrong. It does absolutely nothing to stop crimes. If you're a criminal, I don't think you're worried about a law that says, do you have to go through a background check to buy a gun? So, but anyway, these people now, once this law takes effect, will be able to purchase a firearm again. The good news is that all of the gun control bills that were put in this year are dead, gone, totally demolished. They will not be back until next year. They will be back next year, but they're back every year, but they will not see the light of day this year. Four other bills actually did get through the General Assembly that were favorable. One bill is that the permit holder information is not to be made available to law enforcement except in a bona fide investigation. So, what that means is that if the ATF or the FBI or some agency comes to the state police and says, we want all of a list of all of your concealed handgun permit holders, they can't get it. They can only get the permit information for individuals that are being investigated in a bona fide investigation. Another one that got through was a bill that allows USCCA certification as a qualification for concealed handgun permits. So the law currently says that the NRA certification is valid, and there's a few other things, but for your training, you can take a hunter safety course or supply your DD 214, and there's certain other things that are stipulated in the law. And the trainers have to be certified by either the NRA or the DCJS to qualify to teach courses. So the USCCA also has trainer qualification courses where they certify trainers under their program, which is, I believe, similar to the NRA's program. And this year, the bill was passed and is headed to the governor to sign. That would allow USCCA certification to teach concealed handgun safety courses. The switchblade carry bill made it through, and so last year switchblades were made legal, and Philip and I were kind of stunned when Senator Saslaw said, well, when I was a kid, all of my friends had switchblades. We carried them in our pockets. Everybody at school had a switchblade, so I don't see what's wrong with them. They shouldn't be on the banned list. So they passed a bill last year that made switchblades legal in Virginia. The problem was the prohibited carry weapons bill specifically banned switchblades as well as dirks and throwing stars and nunchucks and anything except for a handgun. So this year, there was a bill introduced that said that switchblade that you can legally own and purchase, you can also put in your pocket. And so I was walking out of the General Assembly building one day, and I happened to see Senator Saslaw coming in, and I said to him, Senator Saslaw, can I talk to you about this bill? I said, there's a bill in the House that will be coming over to the Senate soon to make switchblades legal to carry. And he said, we passed that last year. And I said, no, sir, you passed a bill that said they were legal to purchase, but the concealed carry law still says that you can't conceal them, so you can't put it in your pocket. He said, oh, we've got to fix that. So it got fixed this year, and it's on the way to the governor for signing. The last bill that passed this year is a tax credit for people that purchase a gun safe. And it's for the tax year that starts January 1, 2023. And you get up to a $300 credit for the purchase of a gun safe or safety device. And the safety device has to be one that you can store your gun in. So currently, the law says that you must purchase the device from an FFL, a federally licensed firearms dealer. So we're checking on that to see if there's a possibility it could get changed to remove that one stipulation. But other than that, if you choose to take advantage of this, you would save the receipt, and when you file your state tax return, you send them a copy of the receipt showing that you purchased a gun safe or gun safes. You can get more than one, and you can get up to a $300 credit on your tax return. And I thought it was just a tax credit, but it looks like if your taxes don't equal the $300, but you spent more than $300, then you would get a refund of the rest of that $300. So, and they count 100% of the value of the safe, by the way. So, let's see, what else have we got here? Mm, Joanna, I see your test. Your chat is working. Um, let's see what else we have. Oh, the credit card merchant category code. That has been all over the place, and it's funny because um, the day that Visa and Mastercard came out and said, "Well, we're going to back off on this," I got a notice from my credit card processing company saying that they were changing my merchant code. So, um, what that is Visa, Mastercard, and Discover have decided that they were going to create a new merchant code so that they could track sales at FFLs and places that more than 50% of their business was selling guns. There was a great uproar, and apparently, a few states have filed suit against the credit card companies and said, if you're going to do this, we're not going to let you do business in our state. So the credit card companies are pausing, is what their terminology is, while they look at their options and see what they're going to do. But I think they might just back down from this, especially if more states put pressure on them to not track illegal business. I mean, this is something. The firearms industry is one of the most regulated industries in the country, and there's so many rules that we have to follow. And dealers across the nation, most of the dealers that I know, all the dealers that I know, do their best to stay within the law and try to do the right thing. And most gun owners that I know do their best to stay within the law and try to do the right thing. So for a credit card company to attack them like that, I mean, a few years ago, we saw credit card companies refusing to do business with gun stores, and that would essentially um, eliminate internet sales. It would put a lot of stores out of business. I mean, people, that's how they pay these days, is using cards, debit cards, credit cards, whatever. So the firearm industry and gun owners in general are a persecuted group. There's a lot of people that um, are prejudiced against gun owners and firearms businesses. So we need to work very hard to change the perception of gun owners and the perception of the industry and people's attitudes. You know, they know what they see on the news and they know what they see in the movies. So all of us, we have to be ambassadors for our um, for firearms owners and for firearms businesses. How we carry ourselves, what we do, what we say. makes a difference on how other people perceive us. And I mean, I try to, when I have friends and acquaintances that aren't familiar with guns, I try to teach them about them. I try to teach them how to shoot and get them involved in shooting sports. And sometimes I'll open carry because it's kind of an opportunity to change the stigma, so to speak. But everybody has their own preferences and their own way of doing things and way of talking to people. But we shouldn't be afraid to tell our neighbors that we enjoy shooting sports or that we own firearms. Um, it's kind of like, if you were Catholic and living in a Protestant land and you're afraid to tell them your religion, or um, eh, there's just so many phobias that people have, and the only way to overcome them is to face them. If you're afraid of heights, you work to overcome that. If you're afraid of the dark, you work to overcome that. And it's the same with the fear of firearms. It takes maybe learning how to shoot to get over that. So again, I do want to circle back and talk about the candidate forum. Excuse me, the air is dry in here. The Senate 12th District Candidate Forum will be this coming Thursday night, and it will be at the Colonial Heights American Legion at 505 Springdale Avenue in Colonial Heights. And excuse me, I am so sorry. It will be starting at 5:30 p.m. There will be some sandwiches served at 5:30 p.m. and then the actual forum itself will start at 6:15. You can get tickets online at vcdl.org/event/district_12_forum. And the tickets are $30 for individual. Oh, excuse me just a second. I am so sorry. I'll be right back. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Tickets are $30 for individual and $50 for couples. You can purchase them online, which we appreciate you doing so we know how much food that we're going to need, or you can pay at the door. This is a fundraiser for the VCDL Academy. So if you want to contribute more, you are welcome to do so. The VCDL Academy is working to change the perception of firearms owners by reaching out to young adults, college age, and even high school students, and educating them on firearm ownership, the shooting sports, the history, and the reason for the Second Amendment. And oh geez, we got a promoter on there. Let's see. So the best way to change public perception, thank you so much, is to reach the young people that are being taught in the schools that the Second Amendment is a collective right and belongs to the militia, not the individual. Ah, oh, excuse me. Okay, questions here. Let me look at the chat and see what kind of questions that we have. Do you know when the governor plans to sign the USCCA bill and when will it take effect? Okay, so none of the bills have been signed yet. They've all gone to the governor. He will. He can do one of three things. He can sign it. Actually, one of four things. He can sign it, in which case it would become law on July 1st. So all the bills that are in the General Assembly this session, if they make it all the way through and get signed, they become law on the 1st of July. The only time that would be different is if it was an emergency bill, in which case it would be law as soon as it was signed by the governor. But there were none this year that I know of, none to do with firearms anyway. So the governor can sign it and it would become law on July 1st. The governor can change it and send it back to the General Assembly, in which case the General Assembly would have to vote on the changes and whether or not to accept them. The governor can veto it, then it goes back to the General Assembly and they would have to override the veto. Or the governor can do nothing, in which case it would become law without his blessing. So anything that does make it through will not become law until July 1st. So let's see. Joe is asking any suggestions for VCDL members that want to reduce CHP fees in their jurisdiction. Yes, contact your city council or your board of supervisors and ask them to reduce the fees. The state law currently mandates that the minimum fee is $15. There are localities that charge the $15 that's mandated by the state. So there are others that charge the maximum amount, which is $50. My county is one that charges $50. I would like to see a bill introduced next year that eliminates the fee for the concealed handgun permits altogether. This is a right, it is not a privilege. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and taxing a right is, to me, unconstitutional. That's the same as a poll tax. So if you're going to mandate that people have these permits, then there should not be a fee for exercising a right. So that's one of the bills that I'm going to push for next year. I'm also going to try to get through the bill again next year that almost squeaked by this year. I had asked for a bill to be put in that would remove the 30 waiting period when you move to Virginia or are issued a driver's license in Virginia, whether it's a brand new issue or a reissue. Your license has to be 30 days from the date of issue before you can buy a handgun, a firearm of any type from an FFL in Virginia. This does not apply to renewals, but it does apply to new issues and reissues. So this law was because at one time it was pretty easy to get a driver's license in Virginia, and there were people that would come down from states where they couldn't buy guns, like New York, and they would get a Virginia driver's license and they would buy a gun at a Virginia dealer and then go back up to New York. So Virginia passed a law that your license had to be 30 days old so that they could do more digging and make sure that you were a Virginia resident. Nowadays, you have to take your dead grandmother down to DMV with you to prove that you are who you are and you live where you live. I say that in jest, but you do. There's a much heavier burden of proof, and so with Real ID and with computerized records and with the new requirements at DMV that you bring all kinds of proof of residency in the state, and also with Virginia now recognizing dual citizenship, dual residency, um, not citizenship, dual residency. So this law is obsolete, and we made it through the House, and it was in the Senate subcommittee, and it was actually a tie vote, and one of the senators that was on our side was not there for the vote. So they called it back to the floor when that senator got back in, and they voted again, and this time it didn't pass. So a couple of people changed their votes. So I'll push for it again next year, and hopefully we'll get rid of that silly law. Um, let's see. Are there any 2A questionnaires sent to the candidates in the upcoming primary elections? The candidate surveys are going out very soon. Um, this is something that I will have to look into more when we'll start making the survey grades available. Um, it sometimes we don't get them back in a timely manner for the primary, but the questionnaires will be going out. We've also, excuse me, in an effort to get more participation from the candidates, we're changing up how we're doing things a little bit. So in the past, we have made the questions and answers of the candidates available to the public right before the election, the actual November election. And we waited until just a day or two before the election to do this because some candidates in areas like maybe Fairfax or Loudoun that had a strong Democrat opposition were afraid that the questions would be used against them in the campaigns. So, and for that reason too, a lot of the candidates just didn't answer our survey. But what we're going to do, we will release the grades, but we won't release the actual answers to the questions unless a candidate answers a question and then later reneges on that answer. And in that case, we'll make their whole survey available to the public. But what we're hoping is that we will be able to get you more information and get more candidates to answer the survey by doing this. So let's see. Rich is asking the one new question on the background check form asking if you live in the city, what is the reason for that being added and who is behind that being added? I couldn't tell you who's behind it. It's on the federal form. Um, there are some instances where somebody's address may say Richmond, but they live outside of Richmond jurisdiction. I would assume that it's so that if they have to go and pick up the gun later, say if there have been times where an approval was issued or it no disposition was issued and the gun was given to the person after the mandatory wait, and then later the approval was reversed or it was found that the transaction was denied and they had to go pick up the firearm. So I would suspect that it has something to do with that, but I can't tell you for sure that it's that's what it is. Let's see. Uh, So Michael says the credit card fee regulation would pair nicely with restoring preemption standards across the state. Yes, um, we will not rest until we get preemption fully restored in Virginia. It's ridiculous to have to worry about crossing some invisible line and breaking some arbitrary rule. Um, the Winchester lawsuit, we're looking for that to go to court in a couple of months. So we do have an injunction in Winchester on the parks, but we still need the answer to community centers, government buildings that are not sensitive places, things like that. So, in light of Bruin, I think we stand a pretty good chance there. Of course, my crystal ball, it gets kind of hazy sometimes, so it's hard to say what's going to happen in a court, but we have high hopes for that. So, you know, just keep your eyes out. We'll keep you posted on the VA alert. We will be working on possibly getting a page on the website where we can put updates to some of these court cases. So watch for that also. Let's see, is there anything else that we need to cover? Uh, yeah, let me mention one more time about the Richmond Gun Show this coming weekend. So if you're in the Richmond area, you want to volunteer for the gun show, pop on the website and contact John. Gunshows.richmond@vcdl.org is his email. And let's see, does it make sense when your address? Yeah, so the city question doesn't make sense when your address is on the form, but it does if you uh, there are addresses that, like for instance, say Richmond, the Richmond Henrico annexation thing. You can have a Richmond address, but not be in the city of Richmond. You're actually in Henrico County, so it would be under Henrico's jurisdiction and not Richmond's. And I'm sure there's areas like that all over the country. But that's what that question is about, I believe. So, do we have any more questions? Let's see, scroll back through here. Uh, and I'm sorry about the spam in the chat box there, guys. Yeah, I don't see any more questions. Um, oh, something else that came up this week, just in conversation. Somebody was asking about felons and being able to carry a black powder firearm. So mm, in Virginia, um, the question was if you had a felony, could you carry a black powder revolver, like open carry a black powder revolver? And the short answer is maybe. Um, there are certain crimes in Virginia. If you are not a violent felon, then yes, you can. But there are certain crimes in Virginia that are considered violent felonies, and there's a list of 100 plus of these things. So, for instance, if you tamper with, damage a railroad crossing sign, that is considered a violent felony in Virginia because you could cause an accident that could cost somebody their life or grave injury. So, tampering with a railroad sign and being convicted of that would prohibit you from carrying a black powder firearm in Virginia. And in addition to that, if you were convicted of tampering with a railroad sign in, say, Tennessee, and in Tennessee that was not considered a violent felony, but then you come to Virginia where it is considered a violent felony, then that would still prohibit you, even though it wasn't prohibitive in Tennessee. So, again, the laws are convoluted, and if someone has a question about something like that, they should consult a competent attorney that's very familiar in firearms laws. Um, let's see. So Michael Dalton was going back to the city limits question, that he says that he was born in a town that later became a city, and when the data was digitized, it became a problem. 14 days to clear for a firearm purchase. Wow, um, that's amazing. So yeah, for something that shouldn't even be required in the first place. And, frankly, the Second Amendment is the only right that you have to prove your innocence. You're presumed guilty, and you have to prove your innocence before you can exercise that right. So, background checks uh, they're just not a constitutional thing, if you ask me. Um, So let's see. Then, oh yeah, Philip sent me a note here. He said that the DC police chief had a great idea on how to reduce violent crimes, and that was to like keep the violent criminals in jail. Imagine that. So, and we had several bills in Virginia every year that would have kept violent criminals in jail for longer, and they got struck down. So I don't know. Yeah, yeah, that's preaching to the choir. I agree with you. All right, guys. Any more questions? Get them in the chat. We're coming up on an hour here, and obviously my throat has been dry. So without Philip talking as well, it's a little bit harder on that. So yeah. The Roddy's rule, that is, yeah, smart thinking. Who would have thought that keeping violent people locked away from good people would solve crime, prevent crimes? I don't know. Yeah. So guys, we have been on the air for an hour, and unless you guys have any more questions, I'm going to let you go. Pop on over to the VCDL event page and look up those VCDL Academy events. I hope we see you at one of them soon. They're going to be all over the state. So, um, oh yeah, militant. That's a very good question. Downside to constitutional carry in Virginia. So there, I think we should have constitutional carry. Don't get me wrong here, but I believe that the state should still continue issuing permits, and for free, by the way, um, for the simple reason that until we get rid of things like gun-free school zones and certain places where you can carry with a concealed handgun or concealed firearms permit, that you can't carry without, then there is a benefit to having the permit available. However, I don't think you should have to get permission from anyone to exercise any of your rights, including your right to keep and bear arms. So I wouldn't call it necessarily a downside to constitutional carry, but in addition to constitutional carry, I would like to see the state still have the permit. The other thing that the permit gives you that constitutional carry does not at the moment is that when you travel, there are states where you can carry if you have a permit in your home state, where you might not be able to carry if you did not have that permit. Yeah, Bandit, you also have the reciprocity. So there are, of course, half the states now have constitutional carry, and a few more are looking to add it this year. I was hoping that Virginia would be one of the first, and I sincerely hope that we are not one of the last. We will continue to have the permitless carry bills introduced every single year until we get it passed. So a lot depends on the elections this year. The entire General Assembly is up for reelection this year. So there are a lot of people that are not running again, and redistricting is going to change quite a bit. So there are people that have pretty much lost their districts. There are people from the House that are now running for Senate seats because of redistricting. The important thing is keep up with that and go and vote in November. We have to turn this ship around, and we cannot see another election like we had in 2019. So um, take a look at the primaries that are in your area, and that is where you get to pick who runs in the general election. So primaries, you have a lot of leverage because a lot of people don't show up for the primaries, and um, people say, well, I wish they would give me somebody worth voting for. The primary is where you get to pick somebody worth voting for. So get out there in the primaries and vote to try to get people um, in there that are um, worth voting for, and then get out in November and vote. And let's get a pro gun majority in both the House and the Senate. And let's get some things done like the Democrats got done in 2019, 2020. So, do constitutional carry states recognize other constitutional carry states? I haven't read the laws on all constitutional carry states, but permitless is permitless. If you can carry without a permit, then I don't think that it requires you be a resident of their state, but it pays to check the state laws of whatever state you're going to. Um, so Bandit, the one handgun a month law, we have a lawsuit going on that too. It's not as far along as the private sale background check. Um, when you buy more than one handgun a month, make sure that the FFL puts your CHP information in when they're doing the state background check. If they don't put that in, you will be denied if you've already bought a handgun that month. Also, um, the private sale purchase of a handgun is not supposed to go against your one handgun a month. So, yeah, make sure that you tell the dealer. I know when I sell a handgun, anytime I sell any handgun, I ask the person, "Have you bought a handgun in the last 30 days?" So, not all dealers do that though. So, just make sure you ask them to put in your CHP information. Let's see, Brad, what do you got here? Any favorable to a person taking Saslaw's spot? Yes, Saslaw is retiring. Um, I can't tell you who will take that seat, but he is in a Democrat-controlled area, so it's going to take a fair amount of work there. But we'll see what redistricting does. Um, Yeah, so Roddy's, yeah, thank you guys because, Philip and I, you may see our faces more and hear our voices more, but VCDL is all of you guys, and we could not do this without you. When Philip puts out an action item and a senator or delegates gets 2,000 emails in a 6-hour period, that's what really carries the weight. We can go up there and talk to them and ask them to carry bills or ask them to fight against bills, but you guys getting involved is what really makes the difference. VCDL is truly grassroots, and you guys are the grassroots. So I want to thank all of you. Thanks for joining me tonight, for taking time out on your Sunday night, and thanks for being active and caring about it. So we will see you on the next one.